Alright, hi everyone. So what I'm going to do today is to do a practice run for my section of the slides, just to make sure that I have everything. So what I'll do is in the slides, I'll go to presenter view, and Google Slides that pops up with this dialog over here, and it basically shows you a mini screenshot of the slide as well as a mini slide over here, right? And then you get a drop down with the titles, right, of the slides over here. Doesn't seem to pick them up in all cases, but some, and then it also shows you a sneak peek of the next one, right? Yeah, stuff like that. Okay, so let's begin, right? I know, and actually one more thing before we begin is that this isn't going to be the exact setup in the actual presentation. What I'll do is I'll full screen it, but otherwise it's going to be the same, right? And of course in this one I'm going to skip over all of the other slides and just practice the parts which are the intro and maybe the in-between bits. Okay, so now we'll actually begin. All right, welcome everyone to the Hedera Technical Community Call for June 2024. Here is the lineup for tonight. We have Michael Cantor from Tierbot, Brandon Davenport from HGraph, and Ivan Kavaldiev from LineChain. And myself, Brendan Griggs, and I'm going to be the DJ for this call. Each speaker is going to introduce themselves right before their section. Now, we're all over the globe, and that means radically different time zones. Unfortunately, that meant that Ivan wasn't able to make it this time. So you'll hear about his section through Michael Garber, and you're in great hands as Mike is our resident expert on HIPs, Hedera improvement proposals, which are the focus of these technical community calls. All right. Hi, I'm Brendan, and believe it or not, my first job was zookeeper at the Singapore Zoo. After that, I spent over a decade as a Web2 software engineer. And since then, I've been doing Web3 developer relations. You can connect with me on Twitter at BGUIZ, on YouTube at BGRAETZ, and find my writing at blog.bguiz.com. In this community call, we'll cover the following, right? HIP 850 by Michael Cantor, HIP 920 by Brandon Davenport, and HIP 980 by Ivan Kavaldiev. And then we'll do some outros. Replace Tierbot here with Michael Cantor. Here's a shout out to Patrick Wusam as well as Francisco Fernandez for working on the Hedera Wallet Connect repo. The release for version 1.1.0 would not have been possible without you. I've screenshotted an internal note from the project manager about this collaboration, and this is certainly something to celebrate. So big thanks to you, Patrick and Francisco, and we're looking forward to your next contributions already. For any of you developing a DApp and planning on using Wallet Connect, you know who to thank. We'll also be doing more shout outs in the next community call as well. And who will shout out could be you. Here's how. There's just two steps. Step one is to contribute something open source. Specifically, the Hashgraph GitHub org is where the repos for the Hedera technology platform are. Alternatively, you can also contribute to examples and that are used in tutorials, right? And so that's the Hedera Dev GitHub organization and all the repos underneath it. All right. So once you've done that, then step two, which is to simply tell us about it. So tweet Michael Garber or myself. You can see our handles on the screen, right? And we'll pick it up. All right. Continuing on, we have the Electric Capital report, which is done annually, and it shows the activity levels on various parts of Web3. And Hedera has its own page. This is what our graph looks like at the moment, and we'd like to get our numbers up. So here's how you do it. First off, some low-hanging fruit. Step 1. In your GitHub repos, click on the gear icon in the top right corner. Step 2. In the pop-up underneath topics, type Hedera and then click on Hedera in the autocomplete suggestions that pops up below. And step 3, you press save changes and then check that in the about section, the Hedera tag appears in your repo. That's all there is to it. Now, there's also a slightly more involved version of this, but it's definitely worth doing to get your project on the radar of Electric Capital. So this file here on GitHub, right, this hedera.toml file is essentially the config file from which they generate this report, right? The report that you saw over here, this one, right? And so if you have developed something on Hedera and it isn't represented inside of this toml file, so just look at it and see if your project actually appears in it, then what you should do is to add your project to this toml file. And so to do so, you have to open up a GitHub PR to update this file. So if you need help with this, please reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at BGUIZ. And if every project that is built on Hedera does this, it'll help Electric Capital to get a better and fuller picture of the Hedera ecosystem, right? And I emphasize fuller because what Electric Capital is aware of is not necessarily the full extent of all the projects that have been built on Hedera. So it's a good thing to get your project on their radar. So I first made this request toward the end of last year in a different community call, and it looks like some projects have taken it up and submitted PRs to the Electric Capital repo, and I screenshotted one of them right here. So thanks to all of you who have done this already, right? So you can check out an example and, hopefully replicate it yourself. We've also started using the Hedera tag on Stack Overflow more deliberately recently, and where we've reached a milestone recently of 150 questions, right? And also something worth pointing out is that we've got some external recognition. If you take a look at this graph produced by someone in the community, right, saying that we're right at the top on how likely a question is to be answered if it's asked on Stack Overflow among all blockchains. So this is pretty cool. All right. We also have a Discord forum feature now, right? We've noticed that in chat, especially in the developer general chat, there's a lot of questions that are being asked and they don't get answered on time, or they scroll up really fast and then they get missed, etc. Right? So the questions and the answers tend to get lost very quickly, and the volume of the messages is quite large. And so we found a better way, which is the Discord forum. So join the Discord on hedera.com/discord, and then under the support section, find developer help desk, right? And over there, you can ask your questions and, it doesn't get lost in the scrolling. So far more likely to get answered, far more likely to have repeat use value. All right. Now, onto something that's completely brand new. So we have a new repo that's up on hedera-dev/hedera-com-calls, and this repo is a repo for all the community calls, right? So the idea here is that we use the GitHub issues on this repo to propose the agenda for any upcoming community calls. Then we use the repo itself, so the main README file and other files, for example, notes, right? We use that to catalog and index the artifacts of the community calls once they have happened. All right, that's it from me, and now I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker. We have Michael Cantor up first. He is the founder of TierBot, which is a dashboard that allows you to explore what's on Hedera. And today he's going to be talking to us about HIP 850, enhancing supply key functionality for NFT updates in Treasury account. HIP 850 has recently gone from last call status to accepted status. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself, please, and then take it away? All right, and now it's time for Michael's slides. All right, thank you very much, Michael. I certainly look forward to checking out all the cool use cases on TierBot myself. Next, we have Brandon Davenport. He is the comms director of HGraph, which is a mirror node service provider, but that's not all. He's also the host of a live show about Hedera, is part of several Hedera working groups, and has even launched music as NFTs on Hedera. And today he's going to be talking to us about something very relevant to that last bit, which is HIP 920 NFT music metadata JSON schema. Now, HIP 920 has recently gone from review status to active status. Brandon, would you like to introduce yourself, please, and then take it away? So Brandon presents his slides now. Thank you very much, Brandon. I remember adding some feedback to your GitHub PR while this was still under review. And I think this is a great step. I personally think that this HIP will enable more music artists to use Hedera as a means to launch and monetize their albums and singles. And I really hope that this takes off. Finally, to round us off today, we have Ivan Kavaltiev. He is a tech lead at LimeChain, which does Web3 development and consulting. And today, he's going to be talking to us about HIP 980, extend mirror node APIs with timestamp query. HIP 850 has just begun, so it is in the review status. As mentioned earlier, due to time zones, we'll have Michael Garber cover HIP 980 instead. He's a developer advocate for Hedera, and he's also our resident expert on HIPs. Mike, would you like to introduce yourself, please, and then take it away? So Mike presents Ivan's slides. Thank you very much, Mike and Ivan, asynchronously. I'm looking forward to trying out these new queries via the mirror node APIs. Now, we have reached the end of this community call, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. Here's a quick recap of everything that we've covered today. I'll just leave that up on the screen for a bit. And now I'll scan the chat for any questions or any discussion. If there is any, if there isn't right now, then please feel free to tweet to continue the discussion on Twitter. You have the links already. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We hope that you continue to build on Hedera, and let us know how you go when you do. Bye. All right, so that's it from me in terms of the practice recording of the slides. I just wanted to very quickly explain a few things that I was doing, from a DevRel perspective, like what's going on in my head. So firstly, you may have noticed that I clapped. So that's kind of like hats off from presenter mode and hats on to sort of notes to self mode almost, which is that I want to edit a certain part, and I just wanted to make a note to myself. There was some, and then the other thing that's going on, right, that I'm thinking of is as I'm reading the speaker notes, sometimes I notice that there's a mismatch or something. So a good example would be this one over here. So I think this is probably a copy-paste error where I introduced Ivan, and then this is the line to say, Michael, would you like to introduce yourself, please? That really is over here on the second slide. So when I split the slides, I obviously left this one in by accident, and I need to get rid of that. So part of doing a practice run is so that I can spot each of these things, and I find that it's easier when I verbalize it, like I say it out loud, to spot these mistakes. So that's the other thing that's going on. Okay, so that's a wrap from me.